Welcome to the Women Majoring in Marriage podcast with your host, Janice L. Vance. Girl, if you are a married woman that desires not just to have a surviving marriage, you know, the kind that's just on cruise control, but actually want a thriving marriage, you are in the right place. If you are engaged, this show can inspire you to prepare for your marriage before preparing for that expensive wedding day. Oh, and all my single ladies out there that are in their season of waiting on God to send your husband, we've got something for you as well. Girl, marriage is not hard, but it certainly is work. So relax, get your pen and paper, and let us major in marriage.
Welcome to the Women Major in Marriage podcast with yours truly, Janice Vance. I want to thank you, ladies, for continuing to rock with me on these episodes. I see you all participating, and I just want to let you know that I appreciate you because there's so many other platforms out there, but you chose to come here. And as always, I always try to have a guest at least once a month. When I have a special guest with me today, I always pray and ask God who he would have me on my platform. People reach out to me, and sometimes I have to turn people down. Not that they don't have a story, but it has to be one that befitting for my platform and one that I prayed about and God said have them. Well, my guest today, I had her name down in October, I think it was. And was praying and just asking God when the right time. And I reached out to her, and she said she was going to pray about it. I said, okay, both of us praying about it. And she came back and accepted, and I am so awesome. That just let me know how faithful God is. Because I know for a fact he gave me her name. I wrote it down. Then I started stalking her. Stalking a platform and all of that. And then he just told me for this month. And so here I am today. I have with me Brittney Wingate. Brittney Wingate. She is from Montgomery, Alabama, and married to Andre Wingate Jr. She is the CEO and the founder of the Region HR consulting firm. CEO. I just got through teasing her about the CEO because she was telling me about how she work her schedule. I said, I guess you can. You the CEO of the Region's HR consulting firm, which is the first minority-owned and women-led full-service firm in the city of Montgomery, Alabama. She is the author of Beyond the Blueprint: Redefining Womanhood, Marriage, and Infertility. She's a Christian who loves God. She is among the elite 3% of African American women nationally to own her own proprietary software and technology. Brittney courageously shares her deeply personal journey through the pressures of womanhood, the shifting meaning of marriage, and the silent struggle of infertility. And Brittney will go on to tell you a little more about her. She'll tell you however she feels led. She can say it at the beginning, at the end, how y'all can find her. But I have her book here, an amazing book. It's a book that you get, you can't put it down. I told her I felt like I was in a movie or like a Lifetime story. I got captivated. Brittney, I want to tell you thank you so much for being here with me. And as I told you, it's very relaxed. It's just like we just sitting, chatting, talking. So I'm going to leave it up to you. I know you chose the subject Beyond the Blueprint, which is the title of your book. But I want you to tell the audience, because my audience is for women. And it's for women that are married, those that are married that want not just a surviving marriage, but they want to thrive in marriage. It's for the woman that is in her season of waiting on God to send her husband. It's for that woman. It's for the woman that she's single and she don't want to be married. She just want to find herself and her purpose. So that's what my platform is all about. And I feel that you have something to offer, because I say all the time that sometimes our story is not for us. It's for somebody else. And that's what I want, this platform where people can hear people's stories and say, you know what? I'm not the only somebody going through this. I'm not the only somebody that went through this. Wow, she went through all that. If she did that, and here she is thriving and doing this, and letting people because a lot of people suffer in silence. Let people come out of their silence. Let people come out of their comfort zone and step out and share their story. So I feel that you is so befitting for this platform. And once again, Brittney, I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you, Janice, for having me. And thank you to all of your viewers and listeners. I am just honored to be here. So I just thank you for the opportunity. Like Janice said, my name is Brittney Wingate, and I am married to Andre Wingate Jr. And we've been married for 7 years. And I am also the CEO of the HR consulting firm in Montgomery, Alabama. So being a CEO, a lot of people just think that you always have everything together. Because you're in the general public, and everybody sees the highlight reel, which is a chapter in the book. They see all the good things on social media and all the fun things, and they just assume that your life behind those closed doors looks the same. So I chose this title, Beyond the Blueprint, because I think as women, and I feel as women, because we feel like we have a superhero complex. Because we often, we were put on this earth, God put us on this earth to be a helpmate, right? A helpmate to spouses, a helpmate to family, a helpmate to a lot of people, and we wear a lot of different hats. So we feel like we need to save everyone at our own expense. And we don't realize it, that we're doing it at our own expense, because we just feel like, hey, I can do it. Even if I'm tired, I'll take care of it. Even if I don't have it, I'll find it, So we just keep going and keep going. And so Beyond the Blueprint means basically just go beyond what you think the status quo is. Go beyond what you thought you should be doing. Go beyond what people said you should be doing. And then when it doesn't work out, then you feel like a failure. Go beyond that. And so that's really where the title of the book came from. Being the oldest, I'm the oldest. I have 5 younger siblings. So being the oldest, I've always been in a leadership role. Right. So I was born into leadership. Born into leadership.
Born into it.
Yeah. And so when you think about it from that standpoint, as a leader, which oftentimes we're in leadership positions in our households or in our jobs, in our churches, in our social groups, we feel like we always have to have the plan, because we have people looking after us. We're leading people, right? So they're always looking to us for advice. They're looking for us for guidance. Tell us what's the next move. But you got to have a plan, right? And so for me, I felt like, being the oldest, I had to have a plan. Even though I didn't know what that plan was, I just had to have it.
You feel that
and
you
that
had
was
to have it.
That was an expectation that no one else put on me, but I put on myself. And I think sometimes as women, we do that regardless. We're like, hey, I think people think we should be doing X, Y, Z.
Right.
And we put this unspoken expectations on ourselves. And then, we're stressed out because we're like, oh, we failed over here. Well, guess what? When you actually step back and think about it, no one was really judging us on those expectations.
Exactly.
We put that on ourselves.
Exactly.
So that's really where the thought process came from the title, we'll talk a little bit more, but that's where it came from, where we have to get away from what the plan that we thought was going to be, or what we feel our life is supposed to look like, and look at what God wants it to look like, right? So oftentimes we try to tell God what our plan should be. Hey, God, I want to be married by this time. Hey, God, I want to have 2 kids. I want to have a big house and a white picket fence, right?
Yes.
And I truly believe that he sits up there and just smiles and laughs, because it's like, okay, I got it,
I heard you.
I heard you, right? And then he sits back, and then life starts happening, right? And so then we get into the mode of, God, did you not hear me? Did you? I told you I want. Why am I in this apartment? Or why am I not married yet? And all my friends are married. Like, so we start thinking that, and thinking that God didn't hear us, when it was never the plan. That was never what he designed your life to be. So it's very important as women that we get away from our plans. Now, it's good to say, God, I want to put this out here in the atmosphere that I'm believing you for X, Y, Z, but I also want it to be in your will.
Right. Exactly. That is awesome, Brittney. And in reading your book and then listening to you when we talk about how we have our plans and we have it all lined up, and God interrupt our plans. And interrupt our plans, and sometimes can cause us to be discouraged, frustrated. And in reading your book, I read and I saw, we're not going to tell the whole book because they want the book. They got to get the book.
That's right.
But in your book, you talk about, I saw where there was challenges, because we go through seasons, all of us, whether we married, single, or whatever. There's seasons in life. And I saw where there was challenging seasons in your marriage. I saw where there was challenging seasons where you all desire children. And was believing God for children, and still believing God. And we standing on that one, because I've been there.
Yeah.
My husband and I, we've been there. I went to my granddaughter graduation and I was crying so hard because the doctor said we wouldn't have children. And I have two children. And I have two children, grown children, and now I have grandchildren. So I know what God can do. And I'm not going to sit here and tell my whole testimony, but I want to tell you, I'm standing and believing that the same God,
yes,
same God for you. Exactly. So tell us, Brittney, a little bit about those challenging times.
Yeah, absolutely. So really we can kind of start just kind of in the beginning, being the oldest again, like I spoke about, a lot of things happen where I wasn't the first. And I felt like being the oldest, I should be the first to do everything. So I should be the first to have the first child, so I can tell everybody how motherhood was supposed to be, right? I felt like I should have got married first, so then I can tell you how it looks in marriage and what happens first, right? And so that was my thought process. Again, not an expectation that anybody put on me, but an expectation that I put on myself, that I thought that's what it looked like being in that position of being the oldest. And so throughout those challenges in the beginning, I dealt with what doctors thought was a bleeding disorder. They could not determine what happened or why. And it was just kind of we don't know. So early on, literally in my teens, they wanted to do a hysterectomy. Right. And that was kind of unheard of at that young age. Why would they want to do something? But they had to figure something out, because we can't have this keep happening. Right. Because that can be a life or death situation. And I prayed. I'm a preacher's kid. So I've always been brought up in the church. So I know to pray, when not going the way that I feel they should be going, but it was still no resolve. So it was kind of like, okay, God, do you hear me? Are my prayers making it up there? I'm still in this situation. What's going on? And so just kind of fast forward, so I don't give everything in the book. I transitioned, and I've always known that I wanted to be a mother. That's always been a part of my heart. I love all my nieces and nephews, but I've always desired to be a mother of my own. And so, I've always been good with kids, right? My nieces, and I'm the favorite auntie, right? They love TT. So I've always wanted to give that love and share that love with my own. And so that was something that I've always desired. And then I always desired to be a wife. Watching my parents being married for 30 plus years, I saw that, so, oftentimes, you see the TV couples, but I live a couple, right? I lived it, honestly, of seeing what marriage looks like through sickness, through health, good health, bad health, from ups and downs. I saw that in real life, and I wanted to experience it. And so, later on, just transitioning throughout my life, my husband and I connected, and it wasn't until we dated for years, and to a point where I had to give him an ultimatum. I did. I said, listen, I don't think God put me on this earth to be a long-term girlfriend.
You're a wise woman.
I had to tell him. And actually, the funny thing, I actually was working for a company. I had to go to Korea, and so I was gonna be gone for a little while. But when I came back, he proposed. He made that decision while out. He said, "Listen, now she done went to a whole nother
You know what's
country."
a country?
Yeah, and so he proposed. But honestly, a lot of people don't know in the beginning of our marriage, right in between planning a wedding, we were also dealing with the challenges of my health issues. So the doctors had to do a procedure right before the wedding, and then they
Wow.
needed to do another one. But they said, "Hey, y'all are getting married. We want you to enjoy, getting married, go on your honeymoon. But right after that, we're gonna do another surgery." So people don't know I was on my honeymoon trying to enjoy it at the same time, but still dreading, like, oh my God, when we get back, we got to schedule another surgery. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how we started our marriage. So a lot of times in marriage, you don't realize the hard part of the vows where it says in sickness and health and all those,
Exactly.
it doesn't have a deadline. It doesn't have a time frame. So you
It's
may think that's going to happen, 5, 6 years down the line.
exactly.
It happened in the first few months for us, right?
Wow.
So yeah, my husband was a caretaker for me the first few months of our marriage, which was different for me because, like I said before, I've always been a leader. I've
Mm-hmm.
always been the person taking care of everyone. So that was a challenge for me as a woman to allow someone to learn. I was learning how to be a new wife, but also I
Yeah.
had to learn to allow someone to take care of me. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know what that looked like. So again, there was no rule book. And I think that's one of those things that, it's kind of hard to prepare for that because people
Mm-hmm.
can tell you all day long. One thing that I always remembered before I got married, women always come together and give advice, all of the younger women and the older women that have been married, they all come together and they tell you all these things about how to be a wife, what you should do, make sure you're submitting, make sure you're doing these things. But what they did not tell me was, hey, there's no roadmap. There's
Mm-hmm.
really honestly no
No.
blueprint. Every marriage is going to be different. Every circumstance and challenge, you're not going to tackle it the same way. So, because I did not have that, I went off the assumption that, hey, why is this happening early? Am I not supposed to be married? I started doubting things early on where I asked God, well, is this where I'm supposed to be? Because why is it so hard in the beginning? I just got started with this thing.
Right. Right.
Fun
Exactly.
time for me, right? And so I think from that portion of my journey, understanding having challenges in the beginning, I knew it had to change. It had to get better at some point, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
always talk about, I always remember what my dad tells me, when I first started driving, I was afraid of storms. I hated driving in the rain, Janice. I did not. I would be the one to pull over and put my flashers on and sit there, right? I would call my dad or somebody and say, hey, come get me. I'm not driving. And the one thing that he told me, he said, listen, you're gonna have to get over this fear because if you keep driving, you're gonna drive out of the storm.
Out of storm. Mm.
If you keep sitting there, right, the
You go.
storm is gonna keep pouring down
Exactly.
in that space. But if you keep driving, keep going, you're going to eventually drive out of the storm. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that concept and that thought process has got me to where I am now, where it was like, hey, it might be still pouring here in this season, and it may rain a little bit more in the next season.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, I'm gonna go into a
You're gonna
season
keep going.
where it's gonna be sunny and it's gonna be good weather, but I gotta keep going in order to get there.
Exactly. It's exactly. Wow, that's good. So tell about your infertility journey
Yeah.
and 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 encourage, just encourage people, just tell them about your journey and so they can see you still going, you still at it.
Yes.
Just tell about that journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was very interesting for me. I know another person going through, and I've learned a lot about it because I guess I never really knew a whole lot about it because I
Mhm.
we didn't have problems with me getting
Mhm.
pregnant. I always was having miscarriage.
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
get pregnant, have me. Well, my first baby was born. He lived 9 days. He died. He was so premature, and then the rest
Mm.
was miscarriages.
Wow.
And so that part I never I'm learning lately a lot about that.
Mhm.
So tell us about your journey because I understand that's a long journey.
It is. It is a very long journey. So it teaches you a lot of patience. So I guess that's the preparation for motherhood because I heard as a mother, you got to have patience.
You
So
gotta have patience, baby.
journey has taught me a lot of patience. So honestly, it started where again I was having that issue, and so the doctors were saying, "Hey, at some point, we hear you want to be a mother, so you may need to consider, taking your eggs out, freezing them, and maybe look at allowing someone else to carry your eggs." Because I had eggs, I was, they were there.
Right, right.
It's just, I could not have a child naturally for whatever the reason was. And, at some doctors say because I had other procedures and that may have contribute. And some just said, well, we don't know. This is just one of those things that we don't know.
Don't know.
And
Right.
so early on, they said, maybe we can just take out your eggs and then freeze them, and then you have someone else carry the child. So for me, Janice, that was like a hit for me because I was like, no, I
I
can't
want to
have
go through the
somebody
whole
else.
thing.
I want to experience that. And then a part of me they may feel connected to my baby now.
Right,
So
right, right.
another challenge that I'm gonna have to
Mm,
navigate. And I've met women that are surrogates and they are wonderful, right? But I knew that wasn't what God told me that He was gonna do for me. His
right.
promise was that I was going to be the mother of my children and I was
Hmm.
going to birth them. That's what He told me.
Right.
So I told the doctors, hey, we got to figure out something because I'm not feeling that, right? And
Hmm.
so we initially started with a process. It's called IUI. And basically, they basically just inseminate the egg back into, your uterus. And it's
Hmm.
a very cost-effective procedure. But we tried that. So you do some injections, some small injections, but not so much. And so it's more cost effective. So we actually tried that. And so we ended up
Hmm.
having failed 2 IUIs. And I was devastated because I was like, well, hey, this has to work. They're taking it out, they're gonna put it back
Right.
in.
Put it back
It
in.
should work, right? And it didn't work. So then I said, okay, God, I'm broken. What's going on? Maybe that's I didn't hear from you. Maybe it was from somebody else. And so it wasn't until last November, me and my husband, we were in a better place, and I said, you know what? I want to try again. He said, "All right, well, let's go and we'll talk to him." And so that's when we learned more about the IVF process. Which again, the IVF process is not it's a very expensive process.
Hmm.
There's a lot to go into it, but it's the best chance when it comes to from an infertility standpoint. And so, we went to our doctor. We have a great doctor in Birmingham, Alabama, and they told us the process. They say, hey, initially, we'll take your eggs out, but to prepare your body, we have to give you all of these hormones and injections to prepare your body. So we want
Hmm.
to overly stimulate your body to get it excited, right? And then be able to have good quality eggs so we can take them out. So initially, I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
that sounds all
Right.
right. Janice, when I got the big box, it came in a cooler and it was all of these needles and all of this medicine. Literally, I said, "Oh God, I don't know now. I don't know if this is gonna work for me." And
Oh,
so it was a huge cooler of all these injections. And so, with the help of, I have family members and friends that are RNs and nurses and all that stuff. I couldn't give myself the injection because I mean, I couldn't stick myself every day, right?
right.
And so I was taking hormones and doing injections every single day during November and December, which are the holidays. So during the holiday months, I was actually suffering and no one knew because that wasn't something I wanted to expose. I wanted to go through it and not complain, even though I was fully bloated. I was hurting, moving around. But I was at Thanksgiving dinner with a smile on it, even though I was miserable. I was,
Wow.
on Christmas, I was smiling with everybody opening gifts, and I was in pain because
Wow.
it's an intense process. You're taking your body through a process that most women go through over a period of time, and I was
Time.
doing it in a short period of time.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a lot. And so when we got to the procedure of removing the eggs, I went under and everything went well. They were able to retrieve 14 eggs, which was the highest that they had heard of. So they were
Wow.
like, hey, they were ready to come out. They were good to go. And immediately after that, I was in a lot of pain. They say, well, you'll be sore. but I was like more sore than
Then
normal.
right.
Went into the weekend. They gave us updates on the eggs and everything and how they were doing, and I was still in pain. And so like that Tuesday, I was like, hey, something's not right. I could barely move. And they said, hey, you got to get to Birmingham ASAP. I got to Birmingham and they realized that I had overstimulated ovaries. And so what happened was all of the medication and all of the eggs that they got out at one time, my body was just shutting down.
Down.
And
Wow.
I was so excited. Like I was excited and then it came back down. So it was like a roller coaster. Like, hey, we got here. I got
Right.
all these and now I'm back down again. And so that was a whole nother process. So I had to go through a whole nother health challenge of getting my body back to normal to continue the process. So it was a lot. Which fast forward to where we were with getting ready to do the second half. So it's two parts of IVF. They take the eggs first, and then they do what they need to do, and then they send them off for testing, and then they tell you how many grade A, which scientifically perfect children, so to speak, right? So
Mhm.
genetically, they are perfect, with no abnormalities or anything like that. And then the second half is when you come back, you do some more injections, but then they actually implant that embryo where it needs to go, and then you wait your 14 days to take your pregnancy test. So there's a two-part process, but in between that, you're taking 80 plus injections, and hormones and things like that. So
Wow.
yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, I was crying at little fish swimming in a fish tank. I was so emotional with all the hormones. So, you get all the effects of being pregnant without being pregnant. So
With
that
that.
was another challenge as well in itself of, hey, I have all of the hormones. I have all the symptoms, right? I was gaining weight. So people were assuming,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I gained a lot of weight, and I'm small in stature, so I gained a lot of weight, and people were making their assumptions and things like that, and I'm like, not
Girl, you
yet.
girl, you
Yeah,
looking
I'm not
pregnant.
there.
You looking pregnant. You looking like you're pregnant.
So, that was another challenge in itself. And I always tell people, and I talk about it in the book, to extend grace, right? Sometimes we don't know what to say or what to ask. So if you want to be curious, start a conversation, right? Don't make the assumption because you don't know what that person is feeling or what they're going through. So just be
Exactly.
curious and ask. I think that's usually easier, than making the assumption because you don't know what that other end looks like.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So what was this like for your husband?
So, great question. So, it was intense for him. So, he's the youngest of his siblings. He has three older siblings, sisters. So, he's also the only boy, right? So, you can see that dynamics. I'm the oldest, he's the youngest.
You know.
So, for him, and this is something that he has said every appointment, every time he's talked to a doctor, every surgery that I've had throughout our marriage, he has always said, whatever you do, is my wife going to be okay? That's always been
Mm,
his thing, right? And so for me, early on in our marriage, when I would hear him say that during a surgery, like before they would take me back, he wanted to know, is my wife going to be okay?
yeah,
When
okay.
we started the first process, is my wife, do you have any questions, Mr. Wingate? Is my wife going to be
Gonna
okay?
be okay.
And I took it as he doesn't really want to be a part of this he's not worried about anything else. Right. And so that was my thought process because I was like, well, why aren't you saying are the babies going to be okay? Or, hey, is this process like, why aren't you asking any more? And it wasn't until recently when we were going through all of these new things when I understood when he said, is my wife going to be okay? Because at the end of the day, right? Babies or not, we started this thing together,
Y'all
right?
started this, y'all in this together.
We in this together.
And that's
So
and that's what he's trying to say.
absolutely. So is my wife going to be okay? So honestly, that has been his focus. That has been his thing of, regardless, I just want her to be okay. It's great if everything works out the way that God has promised us, but she needs to be okay in the process.
Mm.
And so I will say that that has been something consistent. I had an appointment last week and my doctor said, well, your husband's not here today. What would he have said? And we both said it at the same time. Is my wife going to be okay? And she bust out laughing, right? Because that has always been
Because
his
that's what
thing.
it's been a
He's
thing.
been consistent with that. So I appreciate that because when I wasn't able to check on myself, because
Mm.
again, I'm used to being the superhero, he has consistently asked about me when I wasn't consistently asking about
That's
myself.
about yourself.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that is powerful. That is powerful. What would you say that you have really learned from these seasons, not just
Mm-hmm.
one season?
Yeah.
But by the time you get through one, you think you done got over the hurdle, then here comes something else.
Mm-hmm.
And here comes something else. And your emotions everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And because I know how it is to desire children, your
Mm-hmm.
emotions everywhere. And every time you look around, somebody pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that used to get me was when somebody would say, I remember it was four of us in church pregnant at the same time. And like oh, this was a mistake. This was a mistake. I wasn't trying because they already have one or two children.
Yep.
And I'm
Yep.
like, Lord, they saying it was a mistake. And all I
Yep.
want is one. Just give me
Yep.
one. Just give me one. So you going through all this, you seeing all this, and people don't even know what's going on the inside.
Right.
Don't even
Right.
know, don't even have a clue what's going on the inside. And
Right.
so what would you say your biggest challenge, and you glad today that you hung in there? I know you was trusting God and still believing God, but I know there's been time it had gotten rough, and you like, God, are you there? Do you hear me? Have you forgotten about me?
Right.
You
Right.
know, what was that? What was it? That biggest challenge, and you know, it wasn't nobody but God that brought you through it. For you to even
Yeah.
get to the point for you to tell your husband, let's try this. Let's go
Right.
again.
Yeah. So great question. So I'll say again, I had a lot of challenges in different seasons. But I was running a business too. So we got to keep that in mind. While I'm doing all this, I'm still clock going into work, seeing clients, running a business, and making sure everything stayed afloat. I would say honestly, fast forward to where we are this year, was my aha, God, I see, I hear you.
Oh,
So on February 10th, I had a stroke. And
mm,
I did not see it coming. I was so stressed out. I was overwhelmed with everything going on from the infertility, the challenges that kept coming, and my body just stopped. It just
just
stopped.
just shut down.
And I lost mobility of my on my left side for a little while, and then I was on a walker. And so again, going from a person that I'm always the go-to person, I could not do for myself. He
Mm,
literally sat me down and said, "No, you cannot go anymore." And so during that time frame, even when I was in the hospital, oftentimes it was me and God, right? People had
mm,
to go to work, they had to do things, so it was me and
right.
God. And I remember him telling me that if you just be still, I got this.
Mm,
Stop
mm,
putting
mm,
me in a box. And so it wasn't until I heard that stop putting me in a box that I was able to let go, and everything else he was going to handle. One thing I talked about at a women's brunch that I spoke at last month, and I told someone, I said, you know what I recently realized that broken crayons still color, right?
mhm,
So oftentimes, and I love to color. I love to do colors. The color by numbers is just very relaxing to me.
mhm,
And so what I thought about, I said, you know what? Yeah, when you have a new crayon, it colors great. But
mhm.
when it's broken and you have to turn it on its
You turn
side,
outside and peel a
and
little
all
back and
the picture may look a little different, but it still comes out the exact same way. It just was a different
exact.
approach to it. So that's really what I hold on to, that, in my different challenges and seasons, that I was a broken crayon, but my
Mm,
picture is still being colored and developed the way that God
yes,
sees it. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be
yes,
a perfect crayon. And so
yes,
that was what I learned recently, and that's how I'm navigating life in this next season. Whatever he wants to happen, how he wants it to happen, I'm open to it. And
mm,
I'm excited to know about what he's going to do next. So
do
now
next.
I'm just on edge to be excited, not on edge to have anxiety. I'm
Right.
excited about whatever is going to come in this new
Yes,
season.
yes. And that's a good place, Brittany. That's a good place to be in, that peace where God, you in control. I give it all to you. And
Absolutely.
I'm so excited about what God is
Yeah.
going to do. I am so excited about what God is going to do. Because you know people are praying for you. Honey,
Yes.
if ain't nobody else praying for you, you know your mom and dad.
Absolutely.
I know them, okay? Those McCurries, they tell me McCurry.
That's
Elder
right.
McCurry.
That's right.
Yes, we hanging in there because I didn't know your story. I did not know
Wow.
I did not know your story all the time. Like I always saw you and just, oh, she's so beautiful. She always smiling. Oh, yes, you are.
Thank you.
But people never know what a person is going
Right.
through. And
Very true.
you definitely don't look like what you've been through.
Well, thank you.
You definitely don't look like what you've been through. So we're gonna wind it up here. What would you like to leave the audience with? What would you like to leave to tell the women? And there might be somebody out there, it might not be a baby that they want. They might have 10 children and trying to see how they can get rid of it.
Right.
But they might be believing God for a husband, believing God for a job, believing God for whatever, and just feel discouraged because we living in a very noisy, busy society. So much going on, and so many people are depressed.
Right.
People are really depressed. People are really going through. What would you say and leave to encourage them to hold on and go through their season?
Yeah. So, what I would tell everyone listening is to extend yourself grace. That's why God gives us grace. And it's okay to not be okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you sit in that and that's how you're intentional about praying about what you need God to do in your life. So extend yourself grace. You don't have to be perfect, Patty. There's no rule book to say that you have to have XYZ done by this time. So don't put limits on God. Don't put them in a box and don't put yourself in a box. In due time will be your due season. And when that season comes, you'll be able to enjoy it because you didn't rush it. So whether that is a business, whether that is preparing yourselves to be a Proverbs 31 woman to be a wife, if that is, building something, a legacy, whatever that may be, work on yourself first. So make sure that you are good, right? So align, get your womanhood, make sure that is aligned because
Yeah.
you can't bring someone else in if you're not where you need to be. So work on
Yeah.
yourself, develop yourself and love yourself, right? So be okay with you, enjoy you, date yourself, right? So go take yourself on a movie so you know what that feels like and what you want that to be when you get your person. But yeah, extend yourself grace and just know when it's your season, it will be your season and you'll know it's your season. You won't have to wonder.
Wow, that was so well said, Brittney. That's so well said. Will you tell the audience how that they can reach you, how they can get that book, your book?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm on all social media handles, Brittney Wingate. But if you would like to get the book Beyond the Blueprint, please go to Amazon.com and just type in Brittney Wingate or Beyond the Blueprint, and you can expedite it if you have Amazon Prime. You can go ahead and get it there. But yeah, if you just type my name in, it's gonna pull up and everything else about me. I would love to connect if you guys would like to connect. But yeah, so get your copy.
Get your copy. And then also your firm. What's that
Yeah.
website? What's that
So
website?
our website is www.theregionhr.com. And if you type in the Region HR in Google, because we are the minority first firm in Montgomery, Alabama, it's going to come up at the top. So if you just type in the Region HR, all of our information will come up. So we love helping businesses thrive. So if you are a business owner, you own a business, and you need some assistance with HR, let us know.
Wow, that is so awesome. That is so awesome, Brittney. Once again, Brittney, I want to say thank you so much. You have truly been a blessing. I know without a shadow of a doubt that this has touched a lot of women, which is what it's all about. People telling that. I just love when people can tell their story,
Absolutely.
All right, ladies, you all go and have the most amazing day. And as I always say, always try to leave a person better than you found them. Be blessed.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Women Majoring in Marriage podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to like, subscribe, leave a review, or comment. You know, all that good stuff that helps other folks like you find the podcast. Please come back every month on the second and fourth Wednesday for new episodes. You can also find Janice on her website, www.janiceVance.com, where you can order her book, Women Majoring in Marriage. And for more fun content, be sure to check out our Facebook group at Women Majoring in Their Marriage. Also, if you have any questions or would like to reach out, feel free to send us an email at themarriagemajor@gmail.com. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.